5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, welcome to the show. My name is Tim Bayo, and I'll be your host for the 2021 Fantasy Quarterback and Running Back Overview. We'll be looking today at the best quarterbacks and running backs in fantasy football, starting with the key matchup between the number 1 overall quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, and the 7th overall quarterback, Josh Allen. Moving over to our analysts, Oliver, how do you think Mahomes will perform against an extremely good Bills defense this week?
Well, Mahomes is off to another great start, racking up 15 total TDs and over 1,200 passing yards through 4 games. And while it appears as though he'd be facing off against a dominant Bills secondary, they really haven't faced an offense as explosive as the Chiefs. I'm expecting a high-scoring affair in which Mahomes continues his dominant season behind a top 5 QB finish.
Now moving over to the other team, Jack. Josh Allen is going up against a weak Kansas City defense. Do you think he'll be able to outperform Mahomes under these conditions?
Allen has been electric this season, leading his team to a 3-1 record that has them 2 games at the top of the AFC East. He has racked up over 1,000 passing yards and 9 touchdowns through the first 4 games of the season, and he looks to continue to make his MVP case against the Chiefs in a highly contested matchup this Sunday.
Kyler Murray is one of the most dangerous and dynamic quarterbacks in the league for the 4-0 Cardinals right now, being the number 2 quarterback in fantasy football. Matching up against a strong San Francisco defense with a relatively weak secondary, Oliver, do you think Murray will live up to the expectations he's set thus far this season?
Well, I was a big believer in Kyler Murray coming into the season, even predicting him to finish as the overall QB1 in a breakout campaign, and he has most certainly lived up to the hype. He's been nothing short of spectacular, averaging 27 points per game. With great weapons to throw to and dazzling mobility, I see another top finish for Murray against an injury-riddled Niners defense.
Now moving forward, Joe Burrow has started to reverse a perpetually bad Bengals organization into a playoff contender. Going up against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers this Sunday, Jack, do you feel that Burrow and the Bengals will be victorious once again, and how will Burrow contribute to that game?
Joe Burrow and the Bengals have surprised the NFL this season behind a young and promising receiving corps consisting of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Burrow has amassed 988 yards and 9 touchdowns so far this season, and he will surely continue to involve his receivers throughout the game against a mediocre Packers pass defense.
Now moving to the other part of that matchup, Aaron Rodgers has bounced back from an awful start to the season to make Green Bay the powerhouse it is again. Being only the 17th ranked quarterback in fantasy right now, Oliver, how do you feel his performance will be against the 14th best Bengals defense this weekend?
I mean, at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers, and he'll always bounce back. He's averaged 23 over the last 3 weeks and looks to continue a solid play against an average Bills secondary. I anticipate the Packers lean on the run game a bit more in this one if they can get out to an early lead, but Rodgers has a consistent floor that makes him a weekly starter.
Justin Herbert has been a Chargers mainstay for the past 2 years, and his solid rookie year has only been backed up by a just as good sophomore one. He's the number 12 quarterback thus far and looking to improve that against the Browns. Jack, matching up against an extremely effective Cleveland defense, do you think his solid play will continue?
Despite the strong performance from the Browns secondary during this young NFL season, Herbert's expectations are high going into Week 5. He has all of the offensive weapons he needs to succeed in Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Ekeler, and I am certain that he will continue to impress his doubters this Sunday.
Let's now move on to the running backs. It's no surprise that Derrick Henry is sitting atop the rankings, seeing as an injured Christian McCaffrey only opens up the spot for him more. Going into Week 5 against the horrendous Jacksonville Jaguars, Oliver, how well do you think he'll perform?
Well, Henry averages nearly 150 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns per game in his last 5 against the division rival Jaguars, and he's currently on pace to actually outdo his previous 2,000-yard season. He's also finally established himself in the passing game, and with wide receivers A.J. Brown and Julio Jones questionable for this one, I expect Henry to have another monstrous performance as he terrorizes Jacksonville once again.
Now moving on to Austin Ekeler, who's been having a great season thus far. Now ranked number 6 in the league for fantasy running backs, he's continuing to build off of his breakout year last season. Going up against a great Browns running defense this week, it'll be hard to say whether he'll continue with solid play. Jack, how do you think his performance will be in conjunction with Herbert for the Chargers offense?
Ekeler's been excellent for the start of the season, averaging 5.7 yards per carry with 283 total rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Considering the fact that he was playing for an excellent offense led by Justin Herbert, who can always find a way to get his team down the field, I think that Ekeler will be just fine. However, I would expect his role against the Browns to be more of a pass-dominated one because the Browns' run defense has been a force to be reckoned with.
Saquon Barkley had an extremely slow start to the season, along with the Giants as a whole. However, after some solid performances in a great game in New York's sole win against the Saints last week, he's been able to turn it around. Now facing a poor Cowboys rush defense in Week 5, Jack, do you think he'll be able to further bounce back from his poor start?
Saquon has shown numerous flashes of his old self so far this season, and I expect nothing less than a great performance from him this weekend. The Giants' offensive line has been looking significantly better this season, and Daniel Jones has been excellent. If offensive coordinator Jason Garrett can figure out how to call good plays this Sunday, then Barkley should have a huge day in store.
Moving on to the other side of the rivalry, Ezekiel Elliott has been superb this season. Now the number 4 running back for fantasy. It'll be interesting to see how well he does against a weak Giants defense. Oliver, how effective do you think he'll be on Sunday?
Coming off a down season, Zeke has come out the gates looking to prove his doubters wrong. After a strong offseason and once again running behind a strong offensive line, Elliott is averaging nearly 100 total yards per game to go along with 4 total touchdowns. He's historically great versus the Giants, and I anticipate another big game out of Elliott and a big win over their division rival.
Finally, we move to Cordell Patterson. Despite being on a weak Falcons team, he's been having a breakout season, currently sitting as the 3rd best fantasy running back in the league, going up against a bad rush defense in Week 5 with the Jets. Jack, how do you think he'll perform?
Although Patterson played just 30% of the snaps against the Washington football team this past Sunday, I do not think that this will hinder his performance this weekend. Patterson will surely continue his hot start to the season and likely find his way into the end zone at least once against the horrid Jets run defense.
I want to thank you all for watching the 2021 Fantasy Football Quarterback and Running Back Review, and I hope you all have a great fantasy football matchup this weekend.
Stay classy, Weston High School.